Dear colleagues, shall we begin? I think we are already on air. Do we need any other signs? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to welcome you here in the walls of HSE, and we have the honor to open the 12th International Academic Conference on Foresight and Science and Technology. And our introductory session is about the future of the digital economy future, achievements, prospects, and for cooperation of BRICS countries. My name is Konstantin Wisniewski. I'm from HSE, and my co-moderator is the professor of HSE and Professor Mikhail Komarov. Our agenda today is quite full, and in the beginning we are our colleague from HSE, Sofya Privorotskaya, will be presenting digital technology development trajectories, drivers and barriers, and then followed by Cláudio de Lucena Neto from Paraíba State University of Brazil, who will be presenting artificial intelligence, strategic initiatives and regulatory perspectives. And then Ajay Mishra, Vice President of Accenture India, will be talking about development prospects of 5G and 6G in India, to be followed by the Senior Fellow of Terminus Group of China, Yang, who will be presenting the development prospects of 5G and 6G in China and AI. And to conclude, will be our how technologies would be demonstrated in the energy sector. And of course, we do expect many questions to be asked from the audience. And so I would like to ask the presenters to fit into 10 or 12 minutes at the maximum so that we can have some time left for Q&A. Just a little announcement for the speakers. You forwarded your presentations to us. Thank you very much for that. But you can find those presentations in the top right-hand corner in the section called Files. You can click on the files and you can click on your appropriate presentation to be demonstrated and shared. Just one point there. Please do share your presentations during your presentation only. Otherwise, you will be interrupting other presentations. We also have simultaneous interpretation available. So if you need to choose a language, please click the flag of Russia or Britain there in the left bottom corner of the screen. Choose the language. So this is all about the admin issues, and I would like to ask Mikhail if he has anything to add before the beginning of our session today.
Dear colleagues, thank you very much. Konstantin, thank you for the introduction. I would like also once more to thank you for joining us today. And I also would like to say thank you to our speakers who actually connected from different countries around the globe. And so I also think that we will have very interesting and fruitful discussion after presentations. I think in terms of the questions, so we will have questions right after each presentation. In case of questions, I also would like to ask you to type your questions in the question chat here in the webinar platform or in the ordinary chat, so I will try to moderate that. Or we will have also some time, I think, after presentation so that you will be able to ask your questions as well via the microphone. So once more, thank you very much. And I think we can start, right, Konstantin?
Yes, thank you very much, Mikhail. And indeed, let us open our event today. And I give the floor to Sofya Privorotskaya to present the first presentation today. Sofya, the floor is yours. Yes, dear colleagues, good afternoon. And I thank you for the introduction and for the invitation to speak. Today, I would like to share with you some thoughts as a matter of introduction into the digital technology trajectories and the drivers and barriers in this domain and the incentives for their development. And perhaps we can pay attention to some of the nuances and things that we are using for our contemporary analysis. I would like to say that digitalization and digital transformation and digital technologies are all a very dynamic area with many events happening and some of them are really hypes but they're also about digital transformations, and the key area there is to really have those technologies, digital technologies, mature, which are only a recent addition to our lives, but we do see the prospering today. In the core of such digital transformation, we have some names, and we put artificial intelligence as an end-to-end digital tool and technology that would really transform the image of our economy and our digital economy. I should say that, of course, we can note here the mutual penetration of other digital technologies, and we see some convergence and mutual fertilization of such technologies. We do see some of the technologies really being born on the border between various other technologies. Do we all see the next slide, colleagues? So please do not switch through somebody else's presentation. So Sofya, sorry for that. All right, going back to what we have discussed, and on the edge of technologies, different technologies, we see other things like quantum AI, cloud AI, and the intelligent IoT, and it also goes into hardware by changing the architecture and the process of creating the microprocessors themselves. Plus AI is a dynamic development, about 30% growth of annual in that technology. And of course, this technology is not separate from other processes, including socio-economic and political processes. And of course, if you take the real economy and its tasks, you can draw from that other areas of technological nature that need to be boosted. In yellow, we have the key parts, as we think, and key factors there: ethics and the business system development and ecosystem development and digital literacy. And I will be talking more about them a bit later into my presentation. And on top of the traditional drivers, we have also global exogenous shocks. That's my drastic a recent example of that is the COVID-19 pandemic. And it was in 2020 that we saw a boost of digital technology implementations, and the share of digital technologies really grew compared to traditional IT. And we think that the digital technologies spending will grow maybe by 25% compared to previous years. And then, of course, we might expect different scenarios. And as part of our studies, we see that in the individual areas, the new technologies may have produced a different growth tendencies, but the key there is that in some of the areas that were immediately related to the changes caused by COVID-19, it would be the sharp demand growth under scenario 1, which really persisted, and such technologies as remote work and the slides seem to really live their own life, and also the remote medicine really had a boost. Now, of course, we see that technologies, when the COVID-19 pandemic was drawing to an end, they may go back to the pre-pandemic levels, as is demonstrated by scenario 2. Now, all of that really requires from us as analysts, as researchers, the use of the most advanced instruments to provide prompt analyses and get information instantaneously. And then for our intellectual analysis, we use the big data analytics, I4, call it I4 in our institution, and we can thus analyze over 700 million sources, including various academic articles, patents, grant awards, market analytics, etc. Now, we of course need to combine this with the other automated tools, more traditional expert tools, and for we use broadly a model of benchmarking by combining the evaluations and estimates produced by big data analytics and also our expert validation, which is based on the database of 10,000 plus leading experts. We use also statistical indicators. We assess patents and the publication activity, and also we use broadly the Foresight method and our know-how, which we call technology roadmaps, and this way we can trace the life of a technology. This is one of the examples of how using all the aforementioned tools can identify the growing trends, and there, of course, we have the areas that we believe to be most dynamic and promising in terms of future development, and then linked to the key challenges that I mentioned in the very beginning of my presentation. We go to a more detailed level of a specific technology to try to study some of the trends in a more granular way. And here we have a number of examples presented, and among the challenges, just to name a few examples, we identified the shortage of hardware computing power, ethical challenges, the high business costs for digital transformation, and also the need to optimize business processes based on big data. And for each of those challenges, we also reviewed the digital technology responses that may help to overcome such challenges. And perhaps I would not go into much detail on each of the challenges. A little bit pressed in time, but I would provide some general picture of what is happening in each particular area. We of course know that the microelectronics and the access to computing capacity would be a very important barrier to technological advance, because none of the countries can be self-sufficient in meeting its own needs. And of course, you cannot deny the fact that almost every 4 months we have the doubling of the need for AI. And of course, we do see some specialized processes that are used to support AI, but on the other hand, we also have the models, including the neuromorphic computing models that would help to really use less computing power and get the same results in terms of contents and outcome. Ethical challenges. This is the so-called black box challenge, where the already implemented solutions based on AI cannot be fully interpreted by the users or even by the developers, and hence we have a gap between what you get in terms of recommendations and the ability to broadly implement such technologies like unmanned vehicles and the health sector, etc., because you simply cannot be confident that the model would really take into account all factors. And for that, of course, we may use explainable AI or responsible AI that would produce interpretable models, explainable models that may really explain to you how a model came to such and such conclusions. In terms of really barriers on the way of AI implementations, primarily this is high costs. And you have to come up with the very southern models of AI implementation, like AI as a service, cloud AI, a model that would help you connect to a service remotely without having to deploy your computing capacity of your own, and hence you can use the other available off-the-shelf models and hardware for your needs. And the last example that I would like to reference today would be the use of big data. And of course, this is related to what I already mentioned, our I4 tool, when we analyze big data and machine learning to retrieve some useful information for decision making in business and for the company as a whole. One of the new concepts would be decision intelligence, whereby you, as a matter of fact, can analyze big data independently and yourself, and you can use your customized toolkits customized for the users who do not have much of the analytical capacity or capability. Also, we do see that such technologies are being implemented on a wide scale in the various sectors, and we also really analyzed possible support to big data-based projects. For example, we have the two research foundations, two big ones, that may be the source of such support, and we came to a conclusion that big data technology is used most widely in health, transportation, and industry, and those applications are supported by solutions that use big data. And some of the practical aspects of the use of digital technologies. In fact, this is what we see as a booming economy. It is no longer a hype or a matter of some fundamental academic research, but rather it is already some working solutions and applications that may be used in various key areas. Here we have the results of our estimates using big data and expert evaluations and validations, as well as statistical information that helped us to identify some top 10 leaders in digitalization. And of course, the levels are in the level of digitalization can be quite wide. The digital maturity of various sectors of the economy may be very, very big. And of course, we have a number of factors that may explain such gaps. In particular, I should note that to a large extent, digital transformation is most successful in B2C sectors, and of course, it heavily depends on the infrastructure available to companies or sectors and on the investment available and flexibility demonstrated in those sectors. And of course, you may expect a lot of investment going in big companies on such tasks. And of course, the matter of regulation, regulatory burden is also very important. I know that I already exhausted my time, but here we have some links to the various materials that are regularly published on the matters of digital technologies, and of course some contacts of the key researchers in our university on that theme. Well, thank you, Sofya, for this very comprehensive presentation. You already identified the trends, and you also came to discuss some of the sectors. We probably have time for just one question. Dmitry Kolpakov wonders, the technological roadmaps, you use IFORA for that, or you use something else? Thank you for the question. And indeed, we use here in our technology roadmaps the full suite of tools. And we first use the expert judgments for that, and we also use big data analytics. And of course, we use statistics and monitoring results of we did a few such rounds of monitoring of AI to understand the attitudes of consumers and developers and the level of digitalization of society. And we also use empirical data for our purposes. Thank you very much. And indeed, if you're going to have any time left, we can continue with the questions. So perhaps we can come to the next speaker, Cláudio de Lucena Neto from Paraíba State University of Brazil, to discuss with us artificial intelligence and strategic initiatives and regulatory perspectives. I would like to ask you to really have 10 to 15 minutes for your presentation. Cláudio, the floor.
Здравствуйте всем. Thank you very much for your invitation. It's a pleasure to be again sharing these moments with you. I have very good memories of interactions at Vysoká Škola Ekonomika in Moscow, and I hope we can. It's not going to be long until we can do this again. Thank you very much, Mikhail, for the invitation. I'm going to share my screen here, and I really hope it works.
Excellent, it works, Cláudio.
Thank you very much, Mikhail. Thanks for the feedback. My job here today is to try and bring you some of the strategic initiatives in regulation/governance concerning artificial intelligence. I think the This is a pressing issue in many of our countries and everywhere in the world. And I'd like to, this is not exactly an interaction, but a quick presentation to which I have a clear agenda in 3 points I would like to cover to you. First, I would like to say a word about what are we automating, and I usually extend this part a little bit. I'm giving just one example to give you a quick glance of what we'll be talking about and the risks that are involved. Second, also a quick glance, at least one important mapping initiative that I'm aware of that we can talk about how we are addressing this regulation/governance issues, and a quick mention to two of the issues that I believe are important for us to move forward in this issue. So, and first of all, before we start that, I would like you to hear, I'd like to give you a quick word about two issues. One is the digital lens. The idea of a digital lens, to me, that is becoming more and more clear along the years, is that I do not see anymore, I no longer see that we have a specific area of regulation or a legal area concerning digital law, although this is the division in which we have moved along the years. What I see now is that this digital realm, this digital world, is a kind of a lens that we lay over the whole world, which means we used to see the world as it was, over the naked eye. Now everything we see, it's not that we have one set of rules that apply to a certain specific area of law, of administration, of public life. It's a digital lens. We put it everywhere. It covers all aspects of human interaction in the world. And it's through that lens that we see the world nowadays. So this idea of digital lens mean a transversal, a horizontal refraction of what we see in the world is the basis for what we're going to discuss. The second item I would like us to start from is to highlight and to call your attention to the dynamics of how we regulate or govern technologies in the movements of innovation. Regulatory/governance movements used to follow the legal dynamics. That is to say, the fact happens, somebody notices that it causes a certain impact in society, legislative houses gather around it, they take a couple of years. I think we have similar legislative movements and legislative structures working this over a couple of years, sometimes decades, until they reach a minimum consensus. Then that's what we agree as a society that are rules to be lived upon. This does not work for the innovation movements. This dynamic does not work anymore. We do not have 10 years, we do not have decades to discuss how we're going to apply the technologies that are hot on our table, causing the impact that we're living it. And it seems to me that regulators all over the world, at least the new kind of the new kind of profile for regulators that we have set around the world, have already noticed that. So the kind of interventions we're used to see nowadays, and I'm going to share with you some of those initiatives, have mirrored that sense from the regulators that the traditional way of moving when we're trying to incorporate a new technology into our everyday lives does not work anymore. They're being, and the thing is, it's an interesting gap, Mikhail, in the human history, because we are these new regulators and ourselves also as researchers that help in this movement, we have understood already clearly that the old dynamics of regulating or governing things does not work to technology or innovation. Yet we have not discovered what is the next move, what is the next appropriate, definite move. So we're on the verge of doing it, and we're preparing it on the go. That is those are very interesting times to live on, and I think we have that to share. The first issue I would like to share with you, the first question in our agenda, is what we're automating. I usually show this in a growing line, in a timeline of different issues, but I think I'll jump to the let's say the most pressing. I'll give you just this one example. One of the most pressing issues. This is the kind of question. This is the kind of problem with which we're dealing when we're trying to incorporate artificial intelligence into our daily lives. I think Sheffield and University College London have shared in 2016 a paper that was then echoed by the BBC. I'll share the link with Mikhail, and this link takes straight to the peer-reviewed paper where they present their results, where the experiment was they got the report part of judicial opinions, where judges describe what happens, and then they stop there, they cut. That's what they feed to the algorithm that models the decision making. Next step, they separate the decision part where the judges reach to a conclusion and make the algorithm from the description try to get to a final result. In around 80% of the times, the result the algorithm generates equates, mirrors the decision that the judges from the European Court of the Human Rights got. And it's in themes that involve highly charged semantic issues. The articles that are dealt with here, it's a small universe of research. They deal with torture, Article 3 for torture, Article 6 for privacy, Article 3 for the due process, Article 6 for privacy, Article 8 for torture. Highly charged semantic themes, yet the algorithm reaches a conclusion that is similar to those of the human judges in around 80% of the time. This is a research that has been conducted in 2016. Results have been published in 2016. Most probably the research has been designed in 2014. Why do I put you in this timeline? Because the tools that we had in 2014 are completely different from the tools we have from today. The database today might be much richer. The tools we have for today for semantic analysis might make us reach results that are even more accurate than those. Am I satisfied with 80% of a success rate in things delicate as a decision of a court? Evidently not. I'm getting the sign here that my internet connection is unstable. I hope you're not losing anything from. Thank you. So I'm not satisfied with that amount of success, but it definitely sends a sign of what I'm trying to convey here to you, the delicate themes that we're trying to automate. And that is why we have to be concerned about a clear and stable and safe criteria for the regulation and the governance of AI. 2, how are we addressing it? In 2018, a friend called Eduardo Magrani and I had mapped, and I believe it was the first map that I had heard of. And our mapping consisted of looking throughout the world which initiatives were touching upon regulation or the governance of AI. As you might know, this theme has been around for some time, but maybe a book released by Professor Frank Pasquale from the University of Maryland in somewhere around 2014 to 2015 raised a huge international demand for the debate of the governance of algorithms. 3 years later, Eduardo Magrani and I proceeded to make the first mapping of initiatives, Mikhail. And then we mapped. We did not have a lot of resources. It was most based in Brazil, although we have also had a very interesting network of international contacts. But in the end of the day, we managed to map 28 global regulatory / governance initiatives touching upon AI. Let's assume that we have missed some of them because our resources were very limited. Yet the most recent, and I have just uploaded the most recent configuration of the mapping of AI regulatory initiatives from the Council of Europe. Today, at least 506 of those initiatives are mapped by the Council of Europe. This is not the only mapping in the world. It's not necessarily the most relevant, but it's certainly a very structured initiative where resources and an institution has been in charge of making this mapping to show not only how many, and pay attention to the numbers. We're talking about 2018, around 28 initiatives. 4 years later, we have almost 20 times more relevant initiatives dealing with this issue. I think this confirms my first sentence, my first affirmation, that the dynamics of the regulation and innovation themes is moving very fast. Not all of this, and this is another interesting fact, not all these initiatives are the regular legislative initiatives with which we are familiar. Not all these initiatives are passing through the Congress. Not all of them are coming from the government. So the map is very interesting because it's interactive. In workshops and in other more lengthy interactions, I used to manipulate this map with the participants. It's a very interactive map. We can see it by theme, by stakeholder, by the year of release or publication, or by geographic reason. It's a very interesting map for anyone who is interested in the governance of AI. There are other mapping initiatives, but the point is to support my first statement that the dynamics of regulation is moving. I am showing you that we have at least 20 times more in 4 years, at least 20 times more initiatives of regulation and governance concerning this theme, which is being incorporated more and more sensitive in our daily lives. What is inside those initiatives? Yes, there are legislative measures. For example, Brazil has 5 bills of right going through the legislative houses in the Senate and in the Congress as of now, trying to regulate or govern issues connected to AI. They are not in the map of the Council of Europe because they are not, let's say, mature initiatives yet. But those, that's my point, those are not the only interventions that are possible right now. Maybe not the best ones. We're talking about, of course, regulating a portion of a technology that is highly sensitive for all the states in the world, but that does not necessarily match, as I said, the dynamics of regulations that we used. So now, most of these initiatives have been centered in the figure, in the icon of risk. So risk, as I say, plays a leading role in all this regulatory and governance debate that concerns innovation. I would say to you that not only for AI, if we look at intellectual property, risk is there as a very interesting dimension. If we look at data protection, which has been the most talked about technology-related legal issue in the last years, risk also has a central aspect there. If we look at technologies of extensions of reality as the metaverse and other ones, risk is always there playing a leading role in this regulatory debate. How does this risk go inside these initiatives? Usually as impact assessments. I believe you also work with impact assessments. They are very important from an economic perspective, from a regulatory perspective, and I think they have been brought also as a very important tool. Again, not only for AI as a new technology, but for any technology that concerns innovation. If a regulator wants to be smart, and I'm very careful with that term, but if a regulator wants to be smart for the 21st century, one of his main tools should be impact assessments. They are essential in the sense that if we compare the importance of understanding and adequately using, Mikhail, these tools in the century, it's basically the comparison I make of a traditional lawyer being able to generate and write and manage a contract in the traditional times. Where are we looking? What are possible ways forward apart from developing these two basic notions and working with all this mapping? I'll give you one last word to you about two, and I want to go a little bit out of the box here to finish with you. I think we know the traditional interventions. We look at policies, we look at national campaigns, we look at codes of practice, we looked at awareness campaigns for the population, and also legislation and governance and international technical rules. Apart from that, what can help us in developing good strategic governance and regulatory regulations for regulatory interventions for AI? One is the regulatory sandbox. I don't know how much you have been using regulatory sandboxes. We have experimented a couple of them in Brazil for the real estate sector and now also for the technology sector. The city where I work and the university is based here in Brazil has a framework to experiment regulation. A regulatory sandbox, for the ones of you who are not familiar, is an experience in which we lift some aspects of existing regulations and work as if the regulation would be different or did not have that many constraints with a pool of partners. That might include the regulator itself, a couple of companies that want to experiment different kinds of risk, and a number of users with whom we can work with this controlled, mitigated risks. The idea is that the regulator learns from it. Not excessive burden is put on the companies that want to innovate because some of these restrictions are lifted, and the public does not get harmed because the risk should be under control. I think regulatory sandbox are a very interesting way for us to experiment with controlled risk in the realm of AI. And the last one, I believe this is a state-of-the-art idea, is to work with policy prototyping. The difference, they're very similar initiatives, but there is a clear difference between a regulatory sandbox, which works with regulation that exists and is temporarily suspended, to a policy prototype, where we idealize a regulation that does not yet exist for that technology. That should be the issue, for example, with extensions of reality or the metaverse in many of the jurisdictions of the world. This regulation does not exist. They are impacting businesses already. They are impacting the realm of education. So an idea of policy prototyping here would be to propose to gather a pool of companies, regulators, partners, propose what would be like what the everyday life within the company would be like to innovate if the regulation were that one proposed, understand what risks and opportunity are there, and then proposing it as best practice or a regulation. An exercise like that is being carried out globally today by Meta, Facebook. One of the instances, Mikhail, and with that I'll finish, is being carried out here in Brazil with myself as a leading investigator. We're trying to investigate the impact of privacy-enhancing technologies, which are not quite well regulated from the Brazilian perspective, and we're trying to understand what risks and what opportunities would stem from a proposed regulations. A report about that experiment should be coming out, I hope, in the next 2 or 3 months. Once again, I hope I have not extended my time. Thank you very much for the invitation. Always a pleasure to share here with you.
Cláudio, thank you very much. So I think we've got one question in the chat. So question is related, if you have any information connected
Есть
to...
у вас какая-то информация? Sorry.
Yes. If you have any information connected to artificial intelligence in oil and gas area. I mean, if there are some initiatives, have you heard about it?
Not from the regulatory perspective. We do have a lot of, we hear about many solutions, Mikhail, business solutions that are incorporated in oil and gas area, but none that to this moment concern any kind of regulatory or governance serious or delicate issue, not.
Okay, thank you very much. And one more question from my side. I think you touched a very interesting field, especially when we are talking about legislation. But in terms of development of new digital technologies, in terms of global aspect of development of digital technologies, do you think that we should actually focus legislation and policy development processes towards international standards or international legislation? Because only, when we have universal procedures and policies, so only then digital technologies will be, let's say, developed well and fast due to the universal environment, right, and regulatory policies. Instead of building, let's say, local legislations in different countries, right, Shall we focus on international aspects of legislation?
Well, you are a fellow of this effort. You have been a fellow of this effort with me along the past 10 years at least, right? And I think if we're involved in that international environment, Mikhail, it's because we believe, and I do believe, that's a part of the answer. I do believe that we'd better work on international standards to allow at least a common ground of human interchange along the world. Cultural differences and jurisdictions and all the issues that we have been facing along the years show us, and we also see that in person in those events. They show us how hard it is to set this common ground, this common rules. But I keep believing in that. What I don't believe will happen is that states alone can take and successfully implement an integrated world, an integrated digital world, without the participation of some other stakeholders in society. And this is one of our efforts, to make the academia a voice that is heard, to make civil society a voice that is heard, to make the technical community a voice that is heard, and to make the youth, the most recent stakeholder, a voice that is heard. States have their responsibilities and they have to have their prerogatives in defining those roles. After all, it's to states that we resort to when we have serious problems. But I think the state and the industry should not be the only stakeholders in this effort to build a more global standard, Mikhail. The other stakeholders should be considered as well. And I do believe, and I keep making my efforts to make this happen.
Thank you very much, Cláudio. So I think we've got another question, but we will leave, other questions till the end of the session. I hope you will be able to stay till the end.
Yes, I'm staying with you. Thank you very much.
Yes, perfect. Thank you very much once more for the interesting presentation. So I assume that we can move to the next speaker, Ajay Mishra. So Ajay, could you please share your presentation? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mikhail. Are you able to see my screen?
It's still loading. Yes. Okay. We just see the presentation mode of your slides. Is it?
Oh, is it?
Yes, perfect.
Thank you. First, big thanks to the HSE team and Mikhail for inviting in this BRICS section, which I think is extremely important because we are similar economies. I'm not going on the OECD data, but the people and the economies, and I think it's quite similar, and it makes sense for much cooperation that would we constitute most of the world population amongst us. So I think it's fantastic that this is being held hosted by Mikhail and company at the HSE. So thank you very much. So I would be speaking on the development prospects of 5G, 6G in India. And, I'll cover three sections here. I have like 15 minutes with me. So I'll get into 5G launch in India, the 6G initiatives, and of course, the development prospects of 5G and 6G. Fundamentally, would be looking into, how it is going to help the Indian ecosystem. And if it can help Indian ecosystem, it will definitely help the Brazilian or the Chinese or the Russian, South African ecosystem as well. Like I said, we are similar economies with similar kind of people in our countries. So getting into the launch of 5G in India. So, I'll get into some numbers, and the numbers are quite amazing in India when it comes to the mobile element. We are having 1.15 million subscribers in India, billion subscribers in India. Sorry, there is M there. My apologies, but it's billion. 750 million smartphone users. And we expect that there'll be more than a billion smartphone users by 2026. So, there are, if I go to the first statement, there are many people in India who still use the feature phone, that button number and so on. The higher internet adaptation is fueling the demand for smartphones, and with lots of applications coming, whether it's from the fintech, especially on the health side in India, which is enabling this revolution. And of course, we have e-learning, but I believe that health is something that's touching everybody, whether it's poor or rich, whether the person is living in the urban side or the rural side of India. And of course, we will be expecting 1.7 billion. That's over 20 in next 4 years. Smartphones to be delivered in India, which is a staggering figure. The important element is that 5G would be contributing 80% of the devices that will be sold by 2026. So that's fantastic. And keeping all this in mind, those who have been following the Indian telecom scene, our Prime Minister and the Department of Telecom had given the mandate to the telecom companies that they'll be launching. The 5G has to be launched by the Independence Day. That's 15th of August. And what happened was that on the 1st of October 2022, the Prime Minister launched the 5G services in India, with Bharti was the first one to launch in 8 cities. And of course, Jio and Vodafone Idea, the other two operators, following the suit and are now deploying 5G in certain cities in India. I think by the end of next year, we should have 5G everywhere. Now, the minister, both the Prime Minister and the Telecom Minister share the view, and which I share as well, that with 5G coming, it will be unleashing new economic opportunities and societal benefit. Now, those who are working into the mobile technology, they know that 2G to 3G to 4G was a technology change, but when it comes to 5G, it was a revolution. It was not an evolution of technology, because 5G comes with an ecosystem of course, new radios, core 5G core. Then you have the virtualization, you have cloud, you have artificial intelligence, and a lot of elements, and which is really going to change the way, not just the way India operates, but the way human society is going to operate. I sometimes tell that 5G will change the way, just like Corona did. Corona did it in a negative way, 5G will be doing it in a positive way. Because of course, the 5G technology, the MECs, that's reduction of the latencies, and of course, artificial intelligence coming in, the change would be absolutely humongous, something that a normal human brain cannot fathom. Like the comment says, that the journey towards 5G would be very exciting, and the coverage would be 80% of the country would be covered very soon under the 5G framework, which makes sense. And India is 100% covered under the current technology. So I don't think so that should be a target that is unachievable in a short time. What is happening on the 6G front? Now, what was happening before in India was that India was following, when 3G came, we were following. When 4G came, we were following. But when 5G came, in 4G, in 5G, we did start to do a lot of things. But in 6G, we have actually initiated a lot of elements. And Government of India has been extremely aggressive, if I may use this word, towards 6G, and I'll not be surprised if India, along with likes of Japan, Korea, and US, who are usually the first ones to launch the new technology, India would be amongst the top 4 when launching 6G in maybe 2028, 29, or 30. That is around the time when first of the trials of 6G technology will be conducted, and some commercial launches will be happening across the world, if I go by the experience of 2G, 3G, and 4G and 5G cases. So, last year itself, and the Corona was going on, the Department of Telecom had launched the formation of 22-member task force for 6G. Innovation centers were created in the best of the engineering institutes in India that would launch the 5G use cases. Now, those who are familiar with this technology, they would understand that till 4G, what was happening was that the network was coming and then its utilization was happening. With 5G, the things changed. The use case determines the architecture of the network. And then comes the investment. The government has been investing millions of dollars and in various, under various initiatives to develop 6G in India. And if we see, both the Prime Minister of India and the US President earlier this year had launched the ICET to forge closer links between two countries for areas including 5G, 6G, semiconductors, AI, and quantum computing. My request or my suggestion in this forum, where we are having various countries under the BRICS, that there could be a similar initiatives where the BRIC countries actually work on the technology and sharing information, something that could be led by HEC or some of our friends in other countries under this aegis, so that when it comes to 6G, it shouldn't be just India, Korea, Japan, or US, but it should be India, Brazil, China, Russia, South Africa, launching it before or at least the same time, like these 3 or 4 countries that have been doing. I mean, that would be a fantastic achievement of the BRICS Forum. That like our Prime Minister always says, that development is not just for my people, but it should be for everybody, and technology should be for everybody. Now, how it is going to impact India, and honestly, guys, you could replace the word India with Russia or South Africa or Brazil, China here. 6G is going to create jobs and boost economic progress. Now, when I say jobs here in India, I tell them these jobs are not like the jobs of 2010 or 1999. These are the jobs that will be related to the competence around artificial intelligence, competence around mobile computing. You might not be the best of the AI guys or the MEC guys around the world, but the mass technical force that is existing in our countries can actually work into the development of products and technologies around these elements. And once job comes, then of course, these countries could be actually hub of the technology brains, which around AI, IoT, blockchain, etc. Now, since 5G, it's an ecosystem, 6G would be an ecosystem too, and the major difference, between 5G and 6G is that you have MEC at every node. You have artificial intelligence in every node of the network. So currently in 5G, the MEC, or mobile edge computing, is lying at the edge of the network. But in 6G, it will be everywhere. All the nodes would be having these 2 elements. And what is going to happen is that it's not just the Elon Musk's program of autonomous cars or driverless cars, but from our country's perspective, the remote healthcare, the education, the prediction of natural disasters would improve to such heights that it will be, we should be able to save a lot of lives and a lot of money that is caused by these natural disasters. And of course, once you are ahead in technology, then international investments, partnerships, business is a natural next steps. So team, this is what I had to present, and I open the floor for questions here.
Thank you very much, Ajay. So we've got already first question about 6G and 5G. So the question from Sergei Nikolaev. So is there a prospect of creating 6G? So why not implementing 6G rather than focusing on 5G development?
Right? Very good question. This is see, what happens is that 5G, there are certain things that should happen in 5G before 6G comes in. Now, development on 6G is already happening. But honestly speaking, we cannot have 6G at this stage because the artificial intelligence. So, for example, mobile edge computing is, the integration of those elements into every node of the network is not possible at this stage. So the roadmap is there, the work is going on, and I think by 2028, 29, we should have the commercial rollouts based on experience. Now, 5G is going to become obsolete, and that's so true. It will, just like rest of the technologies, but that's a natural cycle for the technology to get obsolete and the new technologies coming over.
Thank you very much, Ajay. So another question probably from my side, it's related to, let's say, conversion state. So what do you think about how long would it take to convert, from old legacy, let's say, base stations, 2G, 3G, towards, new actually base stations and new devices, new hardware, because we know that still we have 2G and 3G networks, right, operating, and I don't think that we will, let's say, get rid of them within several years, because there are plenty of other systems keep working, right? And
yeah, you are right. So when 5G is being implemented across the world, even in India at the start, we still have the 3G base stations. And I think same is the story in most of the places across the world. But the thing is this, that that's a natural course. And I think by the time 6G comes into the being, we should see the 4G base stations moving out. So when a new technology comes into the picture, at least two technologies behind. For example, when 6G comes in, 4G and 5G would be existing. When 7G comes in, 5G and 6G would be existing. So it will be a natural course, and it takes time to replace. And money is also a factor, especially in the developing world.
Thank you very much, Ajay. So I hope that you will stay till the end of the session, so that we will have some discussion. And it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Yang, Chief Scientist from Terminus Group from China. Yang, so could you please start presentation? So at the top right, there is a file section at the screen. So you click there and just start your presentation there. It should be there already.
Okay. I do not need to share my slides. I just...
you just click there. So at the top right, there's a file section. You click files and you select your presentation and just click on that.
Okay.
And it will be shared with us.
Okay. Oh, yes. Yeah. And I clicked.
Just.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you. I think I just follow Mishra's presentation and give basic concepts about 6G in China. We are currently, just like our colleagues in India and many other countries, we are working on 6G architecture right now in China. Next slide. Yes. So today I will like to share with you why we need a more intelligent network, why 6G should be better than 5G. We all know that as a telecom engineer, we develop technologies before we know the exact application. Okay. My background is mirrored, right? So maybe I use this one. Okay. Yeah. So as we all know that starting from 1G to 5G, we actually develop the technology first, and then we concentrate on the system performance, like spectrum efficiency, energy efficiency, etc. We hope that we deliver a better technology and someone will pay for it. So this is the basic logic for telecom engineer. In order to make our system more efficient, we divide our users into small groups, such as urban area, suburban area, and rural areas. So basically, depending on where you live, we provide a different kind of telecom services. In 5G, we develop 3 specific application scenarios. So we can concentrate on our key performance index into different sectors. Like in this radar chart, you see we 3 different circles actually concentrate on 3 different applications. So that's the way we do for 5G. Now, in China, 5G is not good enough. So the researchers in China proposed the 5.5G. Besides the 3 application scenarios on the top, we add 3 more application scenarios to support real-time broadband communication, to support harmonized communication and sensing services, and to support uplink-centric broadband communication, etc. Following this direction, people still concentrate on the key technology in the system side. For example, from the reports by Europe, the 5G Infrastructure Association, they believe 6G will be different from 5G by combining physical world with the digital world. Just like the Cláudio mentioned in his talk, that will fundamentally change our life because we will see things differently and judge things differently. Following the transition, we believe 5G is not good enough. So in this radar chart, we put 5G in the middle, and then every technical aspect, the performance should be increased by 10 times. Then we call it, this is the requirements for 6G. So this is the usual way of doing things for telecom engineers. We always chasing higher and higher performance, and believe this will be the future for our research and for our customer. Okay. Oh. This slide is missing one slide. Let's move on. Sorry, I cannot see the slides right now. It's not appearing on the screen. Can you see the slides?
Yes, it works.
Oh, it works.
You're just switching.
Okay. So if you see the slides on the 6G, so this is the 8 scenarios that proposed by the 6G promotion group in China. As you can see here, more and more scenarios will be defined in 6G. And one of the key elements in 6G is the intelligence. So both previous speakers mentioned AI, the importance of AI. So this is what believed to be the defining feature for 6G application. Okay. Sorry, probably my computer is a little bit slow, so I cannot see the screen anymore after these slides. Oh, yes.
It's just loading, probably. It works. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes. So it's, it's jumped to. Okay, so then the key question for us to argue in this presentation is that what we really need for 6G. Okay, so because as a customer, we actually do not pay specific attention to the system performance. For example, how many users you can support at the same time. As a user, we really care about what my request is served. So we believe that a better understanding of customer requirements could be the primary thing to do before we doing research in 6G. Okay. Okay, so I give up on slides. Sorry about that. I cannot see all the slides. Just give you one example. What do I mean by customer requirements? We believe we understand customer requires better now, but actually in the digital world, the things will be fundamentally different, because in the physical world we buy everything in standard. Okay, so standard products will be cheaper, but in the digital world, since every data is recorded in the digital world, so customized service will become a new standard in the future. So this is what I believe the key difference in 6G. Basically, we will fusion the physical world with the digital world. In that sense, we can serve our customers in a better way because we know everything about him or her. One example about customized service is your exercise every day. Okay, if you want to take a walk or jogging in the morning, you need to pay attention to the weather, to the traffic condition, and probably you pay specific attention to the shape of the routes because you want to show off in the social media. Okay, I will follow the suggestion and turn off the camera so that probably save some bandwidth. So the network is not smart enough. Okay, so customized service means you can serve the customer with several different requirements at the same time, because all this data is already available on the internet, but there's no customized service in the digital world yet to combine the traffic condition, the weather condition, your body condition, and your social behavior together, and then recommend a combined service for you. We believe this will become possible for the 6G services. In order to support this kind of customized services, a smarter or better network should follow the human society structure. In that sense, we will organize the network elements in multiple layers with intelligent agents. Okay, so those kind of intelligent agents is different from the current network elements in our 5G networks, which is dedicated to specific applications. But for 6G, the network elements inside the network can serve multiple roles, such as computing, communication, storage, AI services, etc. So this is the new intelligent network architecture to support everyone's customized service requirements in the future. So this is the key focus of our current research on 6G. The next question is how to evaluate a customer's requirements in the future systems. We believe the very complex requirements of every customer can be represented by a radar chart in the demand side, because your requirements on cost, on delay, on data rate, on privacy, and on reliability is a combined service requirements with a certain higher upper bounds and the lower bounds. So this will be represented by a radar chart on the left-hand side from the demanding side. If the system can satisfy all these requirements simultaneously, we think this user is satisfied. Otherwise, the user is unhappy. Okay, so this kind of philosophy is different from the traditional 4G or 5G approach, which is focused on one or two dedicated system performance at one time. But now we want to satisfy a customer by considering his or her requirements as a whole, not just delay or data rate as a single performance index. We also consider cost, energy efficiency, and also the reliability of the service as one of the key requirements. So the user satisfaction ratio will be the total number of satisfied users comparing to the total number of served users. So this is a very simple and fair metrics to evaluate a 6G system in satisfying everyone's customized service requirements. Okay, so here are some initial results. We can see by combining the network with many intelligent elements inside the network, we can greatly improve the user satisfaction ratio comparing to the cloud AI structure. If you put all the AI capability in cloud, you will pay a lot of cost and a long delay to transmit data from the edge to the cloud. So we want to implement our intelligent elements everywhere inside the network so that we can enable service everywhere. Okay, so here are some figures to show that in different conditions, the system will provide better performance comparing to the cloud-only approach in today's structure. Okay, so this is all for my talk. Sorry about the unsynchronized presentation, the voice and the video, because from my side, I cannot see all the slides very clearly. So apologies for that. If you have any questions, I hope I can share my slides at the end of the talk and give you more information if you want. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yang. So actually, I've got one question. Let's say 100 years ago, we were talking about development of roads, right? So in order to actually boost, let's say, automotive production, right, of cars, of industry itself, and so on. Now we are talking about new technologies like 5G, 6G, or artificial intelligence. So who, in your opinion, is responsible now for the development of infrastructure? 20, 30 years ago, we were talking about companies trying to develop their own infrastructure, right, and service their customers. But what about, nowadays, what about our current situation? So who is responsible for that, in your opinion?
Okay, thank you very much, Mikhail. I think this is a very good question. I think different countries may take a different approach. For example, in China, the government have set up a government-owned big data companies to run this kind of service because they believe a centralized service and will give customers better protection. But this will be a great issue about privacy. So I think a Western country may take a fundamentally different approach, maybe based on the blockchain technology. People will share their content and serve themselves. This is a more democratic approach for realizing this service, but this will also have the drawbacks of efficiency. Okay, so I think different country, according to their political structure, they may take a different approach. But it's very clear that we are moving from the physical world to the digital society in the next 10 years. So this, I think, many regulation issues and legal issues should be reconsidered, as you mentioned. This encourage us to work with you guys on these very exciting topics. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yan, for your fruitful presentation with a sort of futuristic character. And now let's move to the final presentation for today. I would like to give the floor to our colleagues Nurkan Kilins Ata. Please, the floor is yours. You have, as usual, 20 minutes for your presentation, please.
Nurkan, at the top right of the screen, there's a files button, so you click there and select your presentation.
Yes, I share my screen with you, and so can you see my slides? No?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay. Sorry.
Now we see the slide future direction. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Please.
What happened? Sorry. What happened? Okay. Can you see?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I am sorry. Yes, I am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to give me this opportunity. It is my pleasure to be here with you. And today I am going to talk about the energy digitalization. And also my paper and title is the Reviewing the Energy Digitalization Opportunities, Obstacles, and Future Directions. For another slide, how can I go to slides? Okay, here, next slides. Actually, in my presentation, objectives and motivation, actually digitalization, the decentralization, and the decarbonization of the energy system are progressive universally, and digital technologies currently have a significant capacity to achieve the goal of the energy sustainability. In light of this purpose, this presentation was designed in the context of the opportunities, challenges, and policy implications associated with the energy digitalization. Research objectives were initially addressed by analysis of the research and analytical publication, and also the main trends of the green digitalization in the energy sector were identified as a consequence of this paper, and together with the necessary conditions and potential social and economic impacts of their implementations. And so this research will provide a different of the contribution in the literature. First, highlighting the advantage of the drawbacks of the energy digitalization will contribute to literature in terms of the who will work in this issue, and also the paper will also help the policymakers by presenting the results of the energy digitalization in the future. Actually, it is important to create the policies and strategies that take into account the most recent energy digitalization developments. Actually, when we look at the background of the digitalizations, the digitalizations of the economy, key industry has boosted the digitalization in the scientific community. The topic of the digitalization is covered in context of more general concepts and trends. Actually, previous speakers talk about this, and actually these trends and Industry 4, artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, big data, augmented reality and virtual reality, cloud computing, cybersecurity, and blockchain. But in this paper, just only we are talking about these trends about in the energy sectors. And digitalization has significant potential for the large expansion in the penetration of the renewable energy, dynamic stability and the balance of supply and demand, and efficient energy exchange between producer and consumers. Actually, when we look at in here, in this slides, when we look at in this figure, there are many technology drivers for the digitalization of the energy system, and so digital technologies have highly distinct implications on different economies, industries, and countries due to the industry infrastructure based of the nature. And also, Lange et al. They claims that digitalization has 4 effects on the energy consumption, which are direct effects, efficiency and rebound effects, economic growth, and sectoral change. Actually, direct effect, it means that the energy efficiency of the information technology industry has a significantly increased while also expanding of the digitalization. Efficiency and rebound effect, information technology provides an opportunity for efficient production of the products, but it can occasionally result in the need and economic growth. The impact of the information technology on labor productivity is growing, although more slowly than the past, and increase the income inequality brought on by digitalization lowers consumer demands. And also the last effect in the sectoral change, it means that in this effect, the expansion of the information technology service does not replace current output in some countries, rather it augments of it just only. And so also blockchain is very important in the energy sector. And energy blockchain was developed more recently to increase the production of the local energy, and also that in here there are 3 subsections of the unitional subsection of the energy transaction are categorized by the blockchain energy trading. Actually, this is the energy transaction, consensus, and optimization. When we look at optimization, actually in these 3 subsections, buyer-seller matching, pre-transaction communication, and transaction settlement make up the overall category of the transaction. Actually, in this figure, when we look at this figure provides the more information about the blockchain energy trading. Actually, also when we look at in the literature, in the energy digitalization literature, and many people working on the blockchain energy trading. And because this is very important in the energy sector, and because blockchain energy trading is include the three transaction consensus and optimization, and also in this they have the sub-heading like for the transaction, like they have the market transaction model, multi-signature technology, and off-chain interaction technologies, and also consensus. They are looking for the proof of the work and proof of the state, and optimization. And of course, there are the many kinds of the optimization. And so they looking for the structure optimization, minimize the operational cost, and also they are looking to optional social welfare. And also also in this figure, this figure is about the blockchain market transformation. This left side is the current market structure, right side is the blockchain market structure, the potential of the current energy market structure to transform the blockchain into wholesale energy trading is shown in this figure. And as seen in this figure, the number of the transactions in the market structure using the blockchain is very low compared to the conventional market structure. For example, the Bitcoin network, the largest Bitcoin network we know, the largest blockchain enable sign-up cryptocurrency and can clear up to tens of the transactions per second, and rather than the thousands or more per second used by electronic payment system. Also, when we look at the literature about the blockchain for energy trade, papers also looking for the primarily use of the example of electric bicycles to study the energy transfer system with smart grids and P2P, peer-to-peer energy trading network. Also, of course, Internet of Things is using the energy digitalization sector, and this Internet of Things, other promoting blockchain application in the developing fields of the Internet of Things platforms. And Internet of Things is the development of network connection between the physical object using the capabilities of the current internet-based network communication. Actually, Internet of Things platforms could be facilitated by blockchain applications and open source, shared and collaborate blockchain platforms could guarantee Internet of Things application interoperability. And also when we look at in this figure is about the Internet of Things enables smart grid application, and also smart grid application is very popular in the green energy digitalization. Actually, in this slides, in this figure, there are different existing applications for Internet of for EOT-based smart grids, and when we look at in here, there are the 4 models and there are the 3 communication networks are used to categorize the applications. And when we look at the applications for WAN-based monitoring of the energy sources, including the solar, wind, geothermal power plants are possible in the production of the electricity. And of course, this is the very good about for the energy efficiency in the future and And so we talk about the smart grid. Smart grid is linked the traditional electrical. Sorry, it's just electrical grid to cutting edge, control the technology and a smart metering system which can enhance renewable energy sources and easy grid load. Actually, energy digitalization is most frequently applied in smart grid, and in addition, most of studies in the literature are on smart grid digitalization, because smart grid digitalization, because the future of the energy can be seen in smart grids. Also in here, conventional smart grids do have, there are the conventional smart grids, and of course digitalization smart grids. Conventional smart grids have significant disadvantage. One-way power flows, fixed tariff with demand, and ineffective energy metering. And also conventional grids also depends on fossil fuels, which realize the carbon emissions that harm the environment. Actually, therefore, conventional grids need significant transformation to address critical issue with the power regulation and production measures. But smart grids are viable alternative to conventional grids, since they provide the clean electricity using the renewable energy sources. And so, in this point, to shift a clean and green digital economy is considerably enhanced by the energy sector. For instance, it is the projected that digitalization will improve value by $1.3 trillion between 2016 and 2025. Digitalization, which is thought to have an impact on 14% of the world economy, can be crucial for sustainable and environmentally friendly development. And today, green technology that demonstrates high efficiency, low carbon footprint, and recycling is not only obvious choice for the advancement of the human society, but also the successful growth of the research-based business. And also some trends have the impact of the energy digitalization as well. Green digitalization on the energy sector. Some trends. What is this trends? Increased use of the renewable energy sources in production and investments, and promoting energy efficiency and retaining energy in light of the rising demand for energy sources, and reorganization of producer and consumer relationship brought on by the development of the smart grids and energy digitalization. Actually, when we look at in this figure, digitalization can also help achieving sustainability in different of the energy fields like food, health, and climate. And also when we look at in here, and sustainable digitalization, and so effect on the climate research, effect on the clean water for oil, clean water, effect on the energy challenge, agriculture, it means that food, and industry and social well-being. Actually, digitalization offers many advantages to global agriculture through the use of the computer and smartphone based on the fingerprinting, real-time tracking, and satellite-based of the data collections. Also, of course, in this paper, we have to talk about what is the opportunities of the digitalization in the energy sector, and extensive application of digitalization are being made for the safe digital settings, and also blockchain technologies can also apply to different of use cases linked to operation and business process of the energy companies, and the opportunities of the blockchain technology for the energy sectors are follows: billing, marketing and sales, automation, application for the smart grid and data transfer, grid management, identify management and security, resource sharing and computation and transparency. Actually, I talk about these opportunities in my paper, and if you request my paper, of course I can share with you to read the detail about, to discuss about these opportunities. And also, of course, digitalization have some kinds of drawback challenge in the energy sector, and the first one is the negative consequences of digitalization include the increasing information security needs and the effectiveness of the regulation and market maturity, specifically the security of data storage and exchange system and the compatibility of information systems and equipment heavily influence the rate of the digitalization. And the last one, mainly the market function, including the risk management. And it means that this is the commodity trading and wholesale market management might be affected by distributed trading platforms powered by the blockchain technology. Actually, as can be seen, when we look at the challenge of the digitalization and opportunities of the digitalization, of course, there are the more benefits to energy digitalization than the disadvantage. And so the conclusion, the literature generally agrees that the digitalization has both some opportunities and challenges in energy sector as well. The energy enhancing effect of the digitalization have been greater than energy reducing effect. And so digitalization clearly play a key role in deployment, improving the development of the green technologies. And so actually, for the future direction, blockchain technology is used in power system and smart energy systems as a result of the decentralization, decarbonization, and digitalization of the energy system. In the future, it is recommended to work on the automation, because for the automation there is some kind of the security, lack of the security in here. Automation management, network, security and identify management to create and maintain the blockchain. But of course, digitalization in the energy sector will therefore gain even more the importance in the future. Thank you so much. Do you have any question? Of course, I'm going to answer your question.
Yes, thank you very much, Nurkan, for your beautiful presentation and such a broad picture of using digital technologies in the energy sector. But we have a question from audience. As you know, blockchain has been known in practice for over 10 years. But how can you explain the lack of massive widespread adoption of the blockchain? And also a question about business case for the implementation of blockchain in a company with a multiple increased economic effect. Could you kindly provide such a case, if you know, of course?
Yeah, of course. And so the first question is about, this is the...
Yes, the first question, how could you explain the lack of massive widespread adoption of the blockchain, for example, in the real sector of economy?
Actually, yeah, when we look at in the energy sector, and so yes, of course, in the energy sectors, companies and adaptation of the blockchain technologies, and but previous speakers talked about this blockchain technologies at the moment a little bit expensive, and also they would like to link the blockchain technologies and renewable energy sources. And also we know renewable energy infrastructure is very, very expensive at the moment. And so, but in the future 10 years, and many energy companies should adapt to blockchain technologies, should adapt to blockchain technologies, because this is the very important. And also when we compare the conventional and blockchain technologies in energy sector, of course, blockchain if they use the blockchain technologies in the energy sector, and is more than the conventional conventional systems. And so maybe for adaptation it will take the time, but I believe, and also when I review the literature, and of course most of energy companies, specifically green-based energy companies, should adapt to blockchain technologies, and they have to use it. And because of if they use the blockchain technologies in the energy sector, and they can get their energy efficiency will increase, and also maybe they can fighting with some kinds of the energy, some kinds of the lack of the security problems. And so maybe it will be a little bit time, but this adaptation, it will be in the future, maybe in within 10 years or 15 years. And also in here, and so many companies using the blockchain technologies in the smart grid connections. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for your answering the questions. And now it seems we could start our discussion. So we have about 10 minutes for this discussion. So we will try to be rather short but concrete. So I have a question to all of the speakers for today. What do you think when we are talking about advanced technologies? So usually we should understand that we need significant investments for implementation of this technology. So what do you think about international cooperation, for example, for artificial intelligence, for 5 and 6G, for blockchain? Is it the area for the broad international cooperation, or maybe each country should develop it by their own? Please share your opinions. Yes, Ajay, please.
In my opinion, cooperation has to be there, because especially for the BRICS nation, the ecosystem is almost same for all the countries. At the end of the day, a local flavor will come depending on the applications that are going to run on the technologies. But I feel that there has to be 200% cooperation, and right from the development to the market, on these technologies, because on the higher side, there's a lot of development going in the Silicon Valley and many research labs across the world. But we need to get the technology element, the technical element, flow down at the bottom of the pyramid to a huge population base, technical population base, which can then become competent, develop their skills, and then contribute also to the ecosystem, because then the real benefit comes to the BRICS. Otherwise, the technology will develop anyway in the Silicon Valleys of the world, especially in the developed side in the US or Europe and so on. So I think it's very important that cooperation happens.
Okay, thank you very much, Ajay. Any other opinions? Cláudio, please.
Thank you very much, Konstantina. I would just like to second Ajay in the sense that it's evident that we do need cooperation, although the risks we're bringing to the society when we deploy such new kinds of technology are not very well known. They are not technologies that have acted their interplay or have shown their impact along the time. So it justifies an extra level of care. I also agree with Ajay that there has to be cooperation, but not necessarily implementing the standards of a certain region in the world where these technologies are necessarily coming from. This adaptation is the most difficult part of this part of cooperation. We do not have in any form of human manifestation a recipe to implement that amount of cooperation and interaction. But I do agree that we need global standards. We are walking towards them. Sometimes sometimes it's more evident, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes it's more effort. But we do need to move in that path.
Okay, thanks a lot, Cláudio. Jan, what is your idea?
Yes, thank you very much. I agree with both speakers that we all desire for collaboration as the old days, the nice old days. But in the digital world, I'm not that optimistic because the boundary is so easy to break. So every country, every government will be more conscious about the boundaries about collaboration, especially is related to data, to privacy, and to the control of the digital society. So I think the content of collaboration may be fundamentally different from the previous years. In the old days, we have very solid legal system, and it's deal with the physical world. So it's basically the rule of guiding the collaboration for every technical sectors. But in the digital world, we do not have such kind of rules yet because different countries have different opinion on their own digital assets. So that's the danger of isolation and lack of collaboration. But that this is the moment that encourage everyone, including engineers and social scientists, and also the lawyers and other managers to work together on this challenging issue in the future digital world. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Nurkan, please. What is your opinion? Nurkan, do you have anything to add? Okay, Sofya, maybe you could share your opinion.
Yes, dear colleagues. In my opinion, it seems to me all countries have rather similar digital priorities and challenges. Moreover, our BRICS country that are really similar in most economical and social aspects. So at the same time, we all have different competencies and access to resources. And here I see maybe a zone for cooperation to achieve our similar goals by exchanging our resources and opportunities. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Nurkan, please, the floor is yours.
Here I am, and so of course I'd like to share my opinion about the collaboration with the countries, and this is very important. Actually, maybe I'm not agree with my previous speakers, and all countries not have the same kinds of opportunities and some same kinds of challenging, and so because for example, I would like to many important infrastructure, but some countries have very little about this infrastructure, like but some countries about, for example, for the wind turbine or solar for solar TVs, and so they also electric bicycles, and so for this kind of infrastructure, countries need minerals, and so some countries have the minerals like Russia, China, Canada, or for example, or maybe India, not India, Canada or some part of the US, and so, but European countries doesn't have any kinds of minerals. They have to buy minerals to improve the renewable energy infrastructure or electric bicycles, and so smart grid connections, and for this, and collaboration is very important between the countries. And so they have to buy this kind of minerals from Russia, from China, from other countries, and so they can improve the renewable energy sources or smart grid connections like this. And otherwise, it is very difficult to improve the smart grid connection or renewable energy, renewable digitalization. And so, in this point, of course, collaboration is very important, and so they have to, countries would like to make the collaboration as a project, as a trade, and so for the also you asked the questions about why blockchain is not common at the moment, and unfortunately it is very expensive, and so for trading is very important between the countries, and they can make the collaboration each others, and so price it will be decreased, and then of course blockchain technologies and renewable energy infrastructure, renewable energy using will be improved in the public. And so, of course, collaboration is very important. Every country different have the opportunities and challenging in the blockchain technologies and digitalization of the energy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks a lot for sharing your opinion. Mikhail, could you kindly share your ideas or maybe something inspired by our today's discussion?
I would like to thank speakers sharing their knowledge and experience in such very important areas as digital technologies are influencing on millions of people, right, worldwide. And what I would like to say is that I think current situation with technological development is completely different to what we had when first computers were invented, when chips were, evolution was going on, right? So from one generation of processors to another generation of processors, because now we are talking about not just evolution in terms of technologies, but we are talking about evolution in terms of user experience, in terms of collaboration and tasks which we actually have to solve with the use of technologies. And I would like to refer to socio-technological approach, which was introduced, I think 70 years ago, something like that, with, Levitt Diamond, when we have four components. We have people, we have technologies, we have tasks, and we have organizational structure, right? So people, they do some specific task under specific organizational structure with the help of technologies. And so I think the main point now, and I think from their, today's presentations, Dr. Yang, so I think emphasized focus on user satisfaction, experience, and services, right? So we are talking about development of technologies for the sake of helping people, right? So we have to know how to use, how to work with the technologies, but we have also to update tasks those people have to do with the help of technologies. But we also should consider that technologies do not exist, individually or somehow isolated, right? So technologies they utilize under specific organizational umbrella. And what we have in common in many countries around the world, so we are focused on improvement of life of people, right? And actually improvements are made by implementation of technologies and teaching people how to properly use those technologies in order to solve those tasks. So we have to update tasks, right? We have to teach people, we have to properly implement technologies, and we have to think about organizational structure. Whether we can implement those technologies under traditional organizational structure, or there should be some changes. I think it's a very hot topic in terms of artificial intelligence, that's for sure. How artificial intelligence really changed the organizations, right? Change the tasks and so on. So I just would like to say that collaboration between countries in terms of implementation of those technologies, not just development, but implementation, following privacy aspects of people's life, following their need and requirement to teach people how to work with the technologies. It is really a joint task for many countries, and so that's why we should have that kind of collaboration, and we do hope it will go under international umbrella of different countries, right, or alliances and so on. That's it from my side. Sorry for the long speech. Thank you very much once more.
Thank you, Mikhail, and thank you, team. It was an amazing session. Thank you.
Indeed, thank you, Mikhail, and we have touched upon many important topics during our session. In conclusion, I would like to go back to the overwhelming theme of this event. This is foresight and the future of the economy. And the future of the economy cannot be imagined in isolation from technological advances and developments, from any new methods of interaction between users and producers, without new digital systems, without developing this high-tech sector. And high-tech sector and its technologies really develop in as said. And here we are talking about connections between 5G and 6G, and AI, and of course, global practice demonstrates that breakthrough initiatives can accumulate this enough capacity for implementation, but with one simple condition: only when they consolidate each other and they form clusters, associations, and cooperation. So, for a dynamic and synergetic effect, it is very important for the key players in breakthrough technologies and new technologies and advanced technologies to be able to interact with each other on an ongoing basis. And this is about the think tanks, research institutions, and startups. And globally, international cooperation within the framework of BRICS or BRICS Plus can really give an impetus to such a development of a new and very powerful impetus at that. On this note, I would like to thank all the participants in this session, the speakers, those who took part in our discussions, and to the audience and our interpreters for their inputs and contributions, and hope to meet you again in this format or otherwise. Indeed, I think it was very entertaining and interesting. I hope that our audience liked it also very much. And if you have any questions remaining, please, you are free to write those questions into the chat room or using our emails, and we would be able to provide